Thank you all for tuning in to WJC 98.3 FM, your voice and music, your station. My name is Jeff Badu, and I'm a licensed certified public accountant in the state of Illinois. I'm a serial entrepreneur and a wealth multiplier, and I'm the CEO and founder of Badu Enterprises, which is a multinational conglomerate in the finance arena. What we do is we provide a suite of financial services to such as tax preparation, financial coaching, credit repair, and things of the like. So today we'll be talking about a segment on essentially how to save money, different strategies you can utilize. I know saving is one thing that a lot of us lack in America or worldwide across. So we'll be talking about some different strategies you guys can use in order to save money, and then also some different different ways to invest from an automated standpoint. So once you hit a certain savings amount, we can start turning on some automated investing strategies. So we'll be going through those two things today. So today actually won't be a long segment. We'll probably be going about 30 to 45 minutes. But essentially, let's start off with a market report, as we usually do. So this report is as of July 12, 2019. Both the Dow and the S&P 500 reached new record highs last week. The Dow surged past 27,000 for the first time, while the S&P 500 surpassed the 3,000 threshold. Anticipated testimony from Fed Chairman Jerome Powell lent credence to the expected interest rate cut at the end of the month, which of course gets investors excited. Powell indicated that uncertainties around trade tensions and concerns about the strength of the global economy continue to weigh on the U.S. economic outlook. In addition to news that interest rates may decrease, the anticipated trade talks between the United States and China, coupled with last week's strong jobs report, provided a boost to stocks. Along with a strong performance from the large cap indexes, the tech-heavy NASDAQ enjoyed a good week and leads the way year to date, up almost 25%. The small caps didn't fare quite as well, recording modest losses last week. Oil prices surged. We went from $57.69 per barrel to $60.32. So if you've seen oil, or if you've seen gas prices get higher, which I personally did, then that's exactly why. Price of COMEX gold went up $14.0210 to $14.1630. So overall, across the board, we're doing pretty well in the markets. The Dow Jones is up 17.17% this year. NASDAQ is up 24.25%, so almost 25%. S&P 500 is up 20.22%. You have the global Dow, which is up 13.59%. And then you have the Russell 2000, which is up 16.42%. So overall, across the board, we're doing pretty well. Stock market is up. Everything is nice. Everything is all peachy. Hopefully, we'll continue this trend throughout the year. But of course, last year, towards the end of the year, we've seen a huge setback when it comes to the stocks or the markets overall. My advice with any of this is, when it comes to investing, there's always a chance of you losing money. But if you know what you're doing, if you understand some things about stocks, what are the real odds that you're going to lose? So it's very important that you invest early and often when it comes to these strategies. So that's my overall advice when it comes to investing, is to try to start it as early and as often as you can. Which ties directly into our next segment, which ultimately talks about saving, different saving strategies that we can utilize. And if you're just tuning in, thank you all for tuning in to WJC 98.3 FM, your voice and music, your station. This is the show Money Talks, where all we talk is money. If you would like to chime in, ask a question, or make a comment, we're live right now on Facebook. You can catch me live on my Facebook page at Jeff Badu. You can also call into the studio line 773-942-7167. Once again, 773-942-7167. We are a fully blown 501c3 nonprofit organization, so any donations are always welcome and are fully tax deductible. With that being said, let's get into some saving strategies. So overall, we must learn how to save money. It's a principle that whether you're making $10,000 a year, $100,000 a year, $1 million a year, $1 billion a year, you have to learn how to save money. It's one of the things that makes a difference when it comes to your wealth building strategies. We always talk about investing, real estate, stocks, this and that, but we have to learn how to save money. That's all. It comes down to that. It's not the most important thing in the world, but we have to be able to save something. The average American does not know how to save money. The reason why is we're not taught these things at an early age. We're not taught how to save money. We're not taught how to implement saving strategies. So I tend to teach financial literacy, to the kids. When I tell the kids, I say, hey, if you get an allowance, I challenge you. You don't have any bills, you don't have anything. Take 50% of that allowance and toss it into a savings account or some sort of bank account. So it's very important to learn how to save money early and often. When it comes to wealth building, when it comes to saving, investing, anything wealth related, it's about developing habits early and doing things often. So we must develop strategies. We must develop habits in order to start saving early and saving often. Now remember, we're not talking about saving all your money. That's not what I'm talking about here. We're talking about saving to a point where if it comes time for an emergency, you're 100% ready for that emergency, no questions asked. The reason why so many people got hit in 2008 when the real estate market crashed is because we didn't have any money in the bank. Or the money that we did have in the bank, we ended up taking it all out. The little that we had, at least, we ended up taking it all out because we didn't have enough in there ultimately. So we have to be able to save money. It's very important that you learn how to save money. And today, my goal is to teach you some strategies, just some tips, just some little tips here that you can utilize in order to set yourself apart from the masses. So we got to be able to save money. And unfortunately, Americans across the world, we lack the ability to save money because we never learned the skill set early. We were never taught this thing early when we were young, when we were kids. We were, 5 years old, 7 years old, 13 years old. Some Americans don't ever learn this. Even through retirement, they never learn how to actually save money. So they have to go back to work even when they're quote-unquote retirement. Now, I don't know about you, but my definition of retirement is when I no longer have to work anymore. So if you have to work, are you truly in retirement? So that's my point right there. And remember, it's important to establish this habit early. We have to learn how to do this early. We have to learn how to do this often. That's the key when it comes to wealth building. It's about establishing habits. Life is about habits. The sooner you get into a habit, a good habit at least, the better your life will become. So here we go with some strategies. Overall, you should at a minimum have 3 to 6 months worth of expenses, living or necessary expenses, non-discretionary expenses saved in the bank at all times. Now, the thing is, this money has to be liquid. It has to be money that you can easily tap into. It has to be, liquid savings. So 3 to 6 months. Why do they say 3 to 6 months? Because it takes on average 3 to 6 months to find a new job or a new hobby, something that allows you to gain income. So if you're an employee or if you have a W-2, usually you can get away with the 3 months. If you're somebody like myself who's self-employed, an entrepreneur, then you should probably lean more towards the 6 months because you never know what can happen. So 3 to 6 months on average to find a new job or some sort of gainful employment. Now with this 3 to 6 months, it can be in a high interest bearing savings account such as Ally. There's Ally Bank nowadays, which has about 2% interest rate. There's also Marcus by Goldman Sachs, which also offers about 2%. Now, the thing with this is we're not so concerned about inflation when it comes to this 3 to 6 months. Now, we should try at our best to earn a return on this 3 to 6 months, but if we can't, it's fine. It's supposed to be an emergency. It's not really something that we're interested in returns. But hey, if we're getting an Ally or a Marcus that's guaranteed by the FDIC, then why not? Why in the world are we not taking advantage of this? You know, FDIC protects about $250,000 per account. So why not take advantage if these banks are offering a 2? I haven't seen 3% yet, but 2%. Inflation is between 2 to 3%. So at a minimum, you're at least meeting inflation with this savings amount. For those that don't know what inflation is the decrease in purchasing power of your money over time. So if you have a 2% inflation rate over a 50-year time span, in 50 years, if that money was not invested, you would literally lose all of your money. So sometimes not investing at all or not earning any return at all is the worst strategy in the world, because you're guaranteed to lose money at that point. Why is that? Is because if you're not putting money in something that can at least meet inflation, you're literally going to lose money over time. So if we're in a 2% inflation rate environment, you're losing 2% of your money by not investing. So if you earn a 0% and inflation is 2%, you're automatically guaranteed to lose money at that point. So why not put it into something like Ally, Marcus? You know, don't stuff it under your mattress or hide it under, you know, your granddad's backyard somewhere. I mean, it's not going to earn any return at that point. Leave it in the bank. It's protected by the FDIC. You know, so it's very important to have something like that. So 3 to 6 months. 3 to 6 months. You can go higher, but I don't recommend you go any higher than 3 to 6 months, because at that point you're just losing money. You can earn a better return elsewhere, whether it be the stock market, the real estate market, bonds. I mean, bonds aren't really so sexy nowadays, so I personally don't really touch bonds. If you can find high interest bearing bonds, then that's fine. You just have to be careful with the ratings and the payback periods or the payback ability and all that good stuff. So we have to be able to save money. And really there's 2 ways. There's saving for emergencies, which is the 3 to 6 months. All you have to do, you know, now here's the thing. We got to come back to the basics. You have to have a budget. A budget is something that consists of income and expenses. Income is money coming in, so the money you make from work, your business, all that good stuff. And then expenses, money going out. The difference between the two, income minus expenses, equals disposable income. One thing to note about disposable income is disposable income does not have to be disposed of. Disposable income, the difference between your income and your expenses, it can either be invested, saved, or spent. Those are the only 3 choices we have when it comes to disposable income. You know, and shout out to all the listeners out there. Definitely appreciate you guys for tuning in. Shout out to Dante. Shout out to Yvonne. Shout out to Stacy, Melanie. Everybody that's tuning in, definitely appreciate you guys. Once again, this is Money Talks, where all we talk is money. If you would like to chime in, you can tune in to my Facebook Live. We're streaming live on Facebook right now. You can find me at Jeff Badu on Facebook. Or you can also call into the studio, 773-942-7167. Once again, 773-942-7167. But overall, you want to learn how to budget. The first step with saving money is you have to have a budget. So you have to know your disposable income. Remember, disposable income does not have to be disposed of. Disposable income is simply your income, your monthly income minus your monthly expenses. That's how much you know how to save, how to invest, or how to spend. My challenge is, if you don't have a 3 to 6 month cushion, depending on your situation, if you have disposable income, cushion, push it towards your 3 to 6 month bucket. And then once you hit, let's say you have this 3 to 6 month, once you hit 3 to 6 months, then you can look into something like, for example, investing or paying off that high interest rate credit card debt that's just draining your finances. So another thing you can do when it comes to disposable income is to pay down some high interest, not 0% interest. We're talking high interest credit card debt, which are not only draining your budget, also draining your credit score at the same time. So you have to be smart about money. You have to be very smart about money. So know your disposable income and push 3 to 6 months worth of living expenses or non-discretionary expenses into your disposable income. Into your savings account. And then also, so remember, you can invest the excess. For me, I never go past 6 months. There's no reason to. unless you're saving for, let's say, a house. Now, if you're saving for something specific, that's different. If you're saving for a house, you first have to set a target. You have to know how much that you have to save. And then you set a plan. My advice for you is to automate that investment plan. So say, hey, this house I need $10,000 down payment and a $5,000 reserve. So I need $15,000 total saved up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set a plan. I'm going to set a weekly saving plan. And please try to automate it as much as you can. If you get a paycheck, make sure that you have two separate accounts. One account that's receiving money that you're using for your bills and all that good stuff. And then the other account is directly your savings account. This money you don't even see. So let's say your paycheck is $1,000. Let's just put it into perspective. Let's say your paycheck is $2,000 per month and you have to save $15,000. Well, that's about, let's just say, a little over 7 months to get to your savings goal. So, and of course, you're not going to save the full, $15,000, or in the first year, or your entire check is not going to go towards that. So what you can do is you can say, okay, based on my disposable income, I have a $500 disposable income. My income is $2,000. My expenses are $1,500. That's a $500 disposable income. I don't have anything else in this world. So I'm going to take that $500 and put it into the bank every single month. So that's going to take you 30 months, a little over 2 years in order to get to your savings target, your down payment target. Now, of course, they have down payment assistance programs and all that, but that's beyond the scope of this presentation. So overall, you can take whatever you have, that target, that $500 disposable income, and put it towards the bank account. Now remember, try to automate this. So in your paycheck, you'll see $1,500 come into your account that you're allowed to spend, that checking account. And then the $500, it goes into a separate account called saving for a house. You don't ever see this money. You don't even know it exists because the money just comes straight. You get that $2,000, $1,500 to checking, $500 to savings, $1,500 to checking, $500 to savings. Try to automate the process. The more you can do that, the less you see it, the more you're actually going to instill this habit. Remember, when it comes to wealth building, habits are very important. We have to be able to establish habits early, and we have to do it often. So try to establish this habit very, very, very early and often. So my advice when it comes to saving, try to automate it. If you get a paycheck, or even if you're a business owner, have separate accounts. As a business owner, you have your profit account, you have your savings account, you have your expense account, you have your tax account. You have these 4 accounts. Every time you get money, a certain portion goes towards each account. You have to make sure you set this. How do you do that? You have to set a goal. How much do I want to profit every month? How much do I want to save every month? And the savings account can be a retirement account. Very important too. This is going to change your life. Once you've hit the 3 to 6 month of savings, the excess that you want to invest, instead of just investing in just the stock market or just, a brokerage account or trading account, try to invest it in an asset protected account or retirement account such as a Roth IRA or a health savings account. IRA stands for individual retirement account. So I highly recommend that you have these accounts. So Roth IRA is really, really good for somebody who's in the lower tax bracket. And tax rates are at the lowest it's possibly been in over 20 years. So tax rates are very, very low right now. So you have to take advantage of today's rates. Pay today's rate, the lower tax rate. So utilize the Roth IRA. Utilize the HSA. With a health savings account, you put money in, you get a tax write-off up front. Guaranteed money. Where else are you going to get a guaranteed return on investment? The money grows tax-free. You can invest it in stocks, bonds, real estate, mutual funds, whatever you want. Some HSAs allow you to self-direct, meaning that you invested in anything you want. And then when it comes time to take the money out, preferably in retirement, you don't pay any taxes on it. Triple tax benefit. No such account exists on this planet, other than the HSA. So instead of just investing directly into the stock market, instead of investing directly into real estate, real estate is a little different. But instead of doing that direct investment, hey, I want to invest, I got to invest in the stock market, get a Roth IRA first or an HSA first, and then invest in the stock market. Or invest in ETFs or exchange-traded funds, mutual funds, which I don't recommend. So have these accounts because, for one, they're asset protected, meaning that if somebody sues you, they can tap into your brokerage account, your stock account, but they cannot tap into your Roth IRA or HSA. This is what people like O.J. Simpson, not to promote him or anything, but this is what people like O.J. Simpson did. They hit, they protected their assets. So important to protect your assets, very important. So have these retirement or asset protected vehicles so that you protect your assets and you get to invest over time. These accounts allow you to invest in the stock market. You're simply creating that barrier for that predator, that's somebody who's trying to come after your money. Me personally, all of my wealth is really tied into asset protected accounts. So Roth IRAs, HSAs, trust funds, and things like that. So if somebody were to sue, it's very hard for them to get anything because everything is all protected. And then also the tax advantages that come along with these retirement accounts. With the HSA, you don't pay any taxes and you get a write-off up front. With a Roth IRA, you don't pay any. You're paying today's tax rates, meaning you don't get a tax write-off, but the money grows tax-free. There are no minimum required distributions at the age 70 and a half. And when you take the money out, you get it tax-free, or your beneficiaries take the money out, they get it tax-free. Very, very important to have tax-free accounts. My two favorite words in life, tax-free. So it's very important to know these things. And then, so just to recap, we want to save 3 to 6 months worth of our living or our non-discretionary expenses. And then once we hit 3 to 6 months, we want to start investing the excess or trying to pay down some debt. So, this is where Robert Kiyosaki, people like him say, pay yourself first. This is what we're talking about. You get that paycheck, and let's say it's $2,000 a month, and your disposable income is $500. $1,500 goes towards your checking account. $500 goes towards your savings account. And before I say anything else, please have a savings account. If anything, I just taught at a high school, and I told them, hey, the reason why you're probably not saving money is because you probably don't have a savings account. So remember, when we talk about problems, we have to get to the root of the problem itself. The reason why we're not doing these things is because we don't even have these accounts to begin with. So if you don't have a savings account, please, I highly encourage you to get one, and you start saving some money. And there's two ways of saving: 3 to 6 months worth of living expenses, or essentially you take a target. So you set a target, and then you start setting a goal or a plan towards that target. Very important. And now if you're like, what, I'm just terrible at saving. This 3 to 6, I don't even have a budget. I don't have anything to save for. There's a third way where you can take 10%. You simply take 10% of what you're making. Everybody knows how much money they're making every month, unless you're self-employed. Sometimes it's hard to tell. But if you're a W-2 or if you have a job, you know how much you're going to make every month. If you're on salary, you know how much money you're going to make. So take that one number, that how much, that number, it could be pre-tax or after-tax. I highly challenge you to do a pre-tax. Take that number and take 10%. Every time you get a paycheck, set it. 90% goes towards checking, 10% goes towards saving. So do the 10% rule. Save 10%. And if anything, you can save 10%. You'll be shocked how, it sounds like it's hard, but it's really easy. Trust me. All you got to do is take 10% and save it. You're not going to spend 100% of your money every month. And if you are, that's a big problem right there. That means you're literally one missed paycheck away from financial distress. So you can save 10%. Everybody can save 10%. You can save 10%. You just haven't learned how to do it. You just haven't gotten into the habit of doing it. So save 10%. I challenge you to, if you're not comfortable with the 3 to 6 months, if you're not comfortable, if you don't have a plan, or you don't have a target, if you don't have a savings target, then just do 10%. This is the third way of saving when it comes to your wealth building. 10% of your income. You make $1,000 a month, $100 goes towards saving. $900 goes into your checking, $100 goes towards saving. Direct plan. Boom, boom, boom. Money goes out. Now let me quickly address some comments. So we have Keeler. Thank you for tuning in, Keeler. When it comes to wealth building, habits are very important. That is absolutely true. we have to get into the habit of building wealth. We have to save money. We have to invest. We have to have a budget. The first step with wealth building is to have a budget. You have to have that game plan, that plan that we lay out. So you have to have a budget. So, so the 3 ways, 3 to 6 months worth, or you have the target, or you just do 10%. 10% of income. 1,000 comes in, 10%, boom, straight to the bank. Automate it. Remember, the key with this is please automate the process. The more you automate it, the less hassle for you. Instead of you taking that 10% physically and going to the bank with it, you just automate it. Every time I get a check, say, hey, divvy it up, divide it up. 90% into my checking account, 10% into my savings account. It's really, really, really simple. Really, really, really simple. Trust me. And we do have a question here. I always like to address questions. Once again, if you do want to ask a question, tune into my Facebook Live. I'm live at Jeff Badu. You can find me on Facebook. You can also call into the studio line, which is 773-942-7167. 773-942-7167. Thank you, Dante, for your question. He says, hey, quick question. Other than entertainment, what expenses do you think is the best or easiest to limit to increase savings? That's a great question. Great question. Entertainment, I mean, we spend a lot of money. For me, I used to spend a lot of money when it comes to entertainment. Other expenses that you can tone down a little bit. Now remember, we're not eating ramen noodles all day. We're not driving Humpties or whatever you call it, beat up cars that break down every 2 minutes. That's not what wealth building is about. If you're not enjoying your money, that's a problem, in my opinion. We should never be living below our means. We should be living within our means and also try to expand our means too by making more money and trying to reduce expenses. So what other things can we do to reduce, or what other areas can we reduce? We can reduce how much we eat out, which I don't consider that entertainment. Entertainment to me is when you go out to the bar, when you go out with friends. When you're going out to eat, that can really, really dig deep into your budget. So maybe it's time to cook at home. So for me, for example, we're starting to cook a lot more at home now. Instead of going out to eat all the time, ironically, we do have a dinner tonight. But it's try to minimize how much you're spending on eating out. Try to cook, try to do meal prep, maybe every Sunday night, do some meal prep. So that's one area. If you don't watch TV, why do you have cable? I don't watch TV, so I don't have cable. I listen to audiobooks. I do have a Netflix subscription, though. I love watching movies. I love watching movies. Watching movies is my second favorite thing to do on this planet. So I have a Netflix account. So it depends on your goals, but instead of you paying that $40 a month towards cable that you don't even watch, why not put that, that $13 or $15 or whatever towards a Netflix? Or I use Audible too, so I read a lot of books. I read about 30 books a year via Audible. So try to, and sometimes when you're minimizing these expenses or removing them, they might divert into other things that are investments. For me, I view expenses as investments. For example, the dinner we're having tonight, that's an investment. That's an opportunity to talk. That's an opportunity to, discuss. It's not really an expense for me. It's more of an investment. So view expenses as investments too. So my rule of thumb is that when an expense does not appear to look like an investment, then it's probably a problem. So your food, your dining, trying to minimize that a little bit. Other things that you can cut include if your phone bill is too high. I mean, if you don't need that 20 gigs of data, you only use 5 gigs a month, then drop down to 5 gigs a month. Nowadays, they tell you how many gigs you use every month. So those are just a few ways. Clothing, oh my goodness, big time. You gotta reduce the clothing budget. Hair, makeup, and all this stuff, it's important to look good. I'm not saying go out looking like a bum. We all gotta look good. But try to tone it down. Maybe you have a hairdresser in your family that you can utilize. So, and these are discretionary expenses. Remember, we're not even putting these things into our budget. We can, but I recommend you don't do it because the more you see it, the more you're probably gonna spend it. You can set a target and stick to that target, but those are areas. So hopefully I answered your question, Dante. Try to reduce your meals, or you're eating out, perhaps maybe traveling too much. phone bill, cable, all that good stuff. So overall, we have to know our disposable income. And it's very important that we establish a system of automation. Automation is very, very important. We have to learn how to automate. And then my advice with investing too is put your investment on automation as well. Start an automated investing plan. What I recommend people start with is $5 a day. We can all invest $5 a day. We can all invest $5 a day for sure, unless you're a kid, you're homeless or anything. Stuff like, even a kid can invest $5 a day. Kids get allowance nowadays. I started getting allowance, I think, when I was like 12. And I was spending on shoes and just stuff that I didn't really need. Those shoes nowadays, I've donated them, I've given them away. So $5 a day, we can definitely do. $5 a day invested over 40 years, earning a 9% return over time is $700,000 in the bank. So that's what I started with, $5 a day. That's the same plan that I've put other people on. I put the kids on the same plan, $5 a day. How do we do it? We sign up for a site called Acorns, and we turn on the automated investing. They take the money out directly every single morning. I see $5 leave the bank account. Boom. $5, $5 is gone. I don't control it. Of course, I can turn it off at any time, but once you get into the habit, it's like going to work every morning. You get up, you brush your teeth. It's just like that. It's a habit. Wealth building is a habit. We got to get into good habits when it comes to wealth building. Don't overspend. Save 3 to 6 months worth of expenses, and make sure you invest. So try to invest. I recommend you start off with $5 a day. There's nothing wrong with that. I personally, if you want to know what I do, I invest a minimum $150 per day. So every single day, Acorns, $150. Boom. That's not including retirement. That's not including my private real estate funds, my other investments. That's just pure money that's going into Acorns, for example. And my goal is to minimum double that. So next year it'll be $300 a day, and then it'll be $600 a day. Of course, not everyone can do this, but you have to make sure that you get into the habit. That's the important part. It doesn't even matter how much you do. The important thing is the habit. Even if it's $5 a day, which is the minimum on Acorns, get into the habit. That's the important part. And Acorns does not necessarily give you 9% interest. I mean, if you choose aggressive, you might get that much. 9% is the average that a stock market investor, or the average return that we've had over time in the stock market. So that's where I got that 9% from. It's basically an average figure. And remember, this year, I just read you some numbers. The S&P 500 has done 20.22%. S&P 500 is up 20.22%. That's double the average. 2 years ago, we did the same thing. Last year, we were down. But 2 years ago, we did the same thing, basically. So we're actually, these are relatively conservative figures if you compare it over the past 3 years. So the key is we get into the habit early and often. So that's very important when it comes to saving and investing. So that's ultimately what I wanted to present today. Thank you guys for tuning in. Always greatly appreciate it. Next week I will not be here. I'm actually meeting with the IRS commissioner with a group of other tax practitioners. IRS commissioner will be in town, so we're meeting. We're hashing out some stuff, talking about taxes and outlooks and good things like that. Part of my duties as a tax professional is to always look out for my clients, and that includes talking to people like the IRS commissioner. So with that being said, I appreciate the comment. Appreciate your knowledge, brother. Always appreciate it. Thank you, Yvonne, for the Thank you, Yvonne, for the like. It's always greatly appreciated when people like and comment. Always share this. You can share this to the world. As usual, this will be posted. We're streaming live on Facebook. Right now, we're on the radio, 98.3 FM. We're also streaming live on Facebook. This will be recorded, and it will be available to everyone. And also, it will be posted on my YouTube channel as well. So, always greatly appreciate you guys tuning in. Like, share. It's always greatly appreciated. But just to recap what we talked about today, we talked about it's very important to learn how to save money. It's very, very critical. When you look at the financial distress that people go through, people complain about being broke. Primarily, one of the top reasons is because they don't know how to save money. The average American does not know how to save money because we were never taught this skill. Until you watch something like this, until you read a book, I mean, I didn't learn this stuff until I was about 18, to be honest. You know, I didn't learn how to save money. I didn't learn how to invest. I didn't learn how to save until I was 18. I didn't learn how to invest until I was 21. You know, so, and 5 years later, now I'm 26, about to be 27 next month. We're growing over time, we're developing, we're establishing habits, all that good stuff, and I challenge you all to do the same. So save early and often. 3 ways of saving. 3 to 6 months worth of living or non-discretionary expenses in the bank at all times. It can be in a high interest bearing account. Or you can set a target. Let's say you're saving for a wedding, you're saving for a trip, anything like that. You set a target and then you set a monthly figure, or you set a monthly savings amount towards that target. You can use a site like Acorns or Ally, or a lot of these sites offer automation. That's why I think it's much easier to save nowadays than it's ever been. Somebody asked me the question, a student, he was in, I believe, 7th grade. He was like, is it easier to save now than before? Absolutely. Everything is automated. Everything's online. You don't even have to go to the bank. You know, back in the day, they had to go to the bank, sign checks, and, you know, deposit actual cash. Now you can be in your couch, set up automated investing, boom, you're gone. You know, nowadays, $150 leaves my bank account every single day without me ever having to get up. You know, and it goes directly towards my investment or my automated investing account. So it's very important to establish habits early and often. The third way of saving is you take a percentage, such as 10%, and you just put it towards 10% of income. You put it towards the bank, and then once you've hit your targets, please invest. You know, paying down debt is cool and all, but to me, it's much more important to invest money than to do this whole, oh, let's just pay down debt. Let's just pay down debt. You're gonna see debt for the rest of your life. That's the reality of it. Now, it's possible to get rid of things like bad debt, for example, student loans. How we do that, we usually take a piece of property. We invest in a 3 to 4 unit building. We take the income we're making, the excess, and we pay off the student loans with that income. So you're using one loan to pay off another loan, essentially, or one income stream to pay off a loan. But we'll get into that when we talk. Remember, next time I won't be here. But thank you all for tuning in to WGHC 98.3 FM, your voice of music, your station. My name is Jeff Badu, and I look forward to continuously delivering you all some content. Definitely thank you guys for tuning in, and I hope you guys enjoyed the show. Thank you.
City to the world. This is WGHC 98.3 FM, Chicago's #1 African music station. It's the artist